Her practice is called the Dhillon Law Group. Please welcome to the program, Harmeet Dhillon. Harmeet, thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Larry. Happy to be here.
Am I pronouncing your name correctly, Harmeet Dhillon?
Yes, you are.
Great. Our governor wants to give $75 million in unemployment money to illegal aliens, and I guess you and other people in this state have an issue with that.
Well, there are a couple of legal issues with it. And first of all, obviously, I think we are all concerned about our fellow human, regardless of their legal status. So we don't want anybody to starve or be sick or, God forbid, die from this disease. But cash unemployment benefits are a very different thing altogether. They are barred by federal law. It is against the federal law to give any cash benefits of this nature to undocumented aliens. And California state law prohibits unemployment benefits to undocumented workers. And on top of that, the second big legal issue here is that our California Constitution bars the governor or the legislature from handing a big chunk of cash to nonprofits or other entities and handing it out. So that's illegal under the Constitution. So that's two separate reasons why the governor's attempt to avoid state and federal law by giving this money through nonprofit friends of his is unconstitutional. That's why we went to the California Supreme Court on behalf of our two clients, who are two California residents who are citizens, and asked the state court to put a stop to that.
Harmeet Dhillon is my guest. She is with the law practice known as the Dhillon Law Group. So what happens next? The Supreme Court has ordered the AG to respond to your lawsuit. What happens next?
Well, the AG has until April 28th at noon to respond. 2 days later, we will be able to give our response by the 30th, so that takes us another week. And then we've asked the court to rule very urgently on this because the governor announced he's planning to hand out this money to the recipients starting next week. Mm-hmm. And what's interesting, Larry, is the $75 million that the governor has appropriated for this, again, with no vote of any legislator, so nobody's being held accountable at the polls on this, would only cover 150,000 people. And by all estimates, they're closer to 1 million undocumented workers in California, many of whom are now unemployed like the rest of us. Mm-hmm. And so my view of this is that this is simply a toe in the water, and the governor is going to do a lot more of this when this is oversubscribed and there are actually 1 million people applying for this money. Then there'll be a lot of political pressure to expand this program. And this is at a time, Larry, when people who are unemployed and are legally living and working in California don't have, the websites are not up to date on the state unemployment system. And so those of us who are in the situation legally are at the back of the line, whereas people who have not followed the laws and are operating in absolute violation of federal law are, in fact, being given cash handouts through cronies of the governor, and those nonprofits are going to be rewarded handsomely for their part in this as well.
My guest is Attorney Harmeet Dhillon. Harmeet, this is, of course, California. This is a state that allows illegal aliens to drive, to get driver's licenses legally. It's a state that allows illegal aliens to apply for and get in-state tuition, something that a citizen living in Nevada could not do if he or she got into UCLA. This is how this state rolls.
I know, and they get away with it largely, but there is no blanket prohibition in federal law on any of the things you just mentioned. There should be, but there isn't. But there is a prohibition on handing out cash. So there's a specific law that says that it's okay under emergency circumstances to give in-kind benefits to people, food, shelter, et cetera, medicine. Now that's been expanded to driver's licenses and other things, but not cash. And that's what the governor is doing here. And it's illegal. So we are hoping that the state will put a stop to it.
Harmeet, we only have another minute or so left. I want to ask you your opinion about this order that we all wear masks outside. Assume that you don't. What can they do about it?
Well, it's an interesting question. So first of all, I think it's a good idea. And if you are in a store, for example, remember that the owner of that store has a duty to their workers to not make them sick. So if that's needed for health and safety of the store workers, I think it's legitimate, frankly.
And with states' lawsuits, if he didn't make the workplace safe enough.
Absolutely. I mean, that's already happening.
Right.
So, you can't make people sick. So they have a liability there. But in Texas, people are beginning to challenge these mask orders with mixed results. So I think it's going to be an interesting issue to watch.
What do you think should have happened? What do you think you would have done if you've been governor of California?
I think the way the governor acted at the outset of this was probably appropriate. Okay, we have a pandemic that is worldwide, and it was appropriate to sort of, lock things down temporarily. But I don't think 6 weeks is temporary. I don't think 6 months is temporary. And now he's talking about testing everybody before we're allowed to go back to work. That raises serious constitutional concerns. I frankly do not trust the government with that data, and I am very concerned about that. So I'll be fighting that as well if that becomes a mandate for me to have my blood drawn in order to be able to go back to my job. I don't accept that.
I got a feeling we'll be talking again. Harmeet, Dhillon, thank you very much for coming on. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. Take care, Larry.
Take care. 888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243.